guys, Bolts96 here, but the O is a 0, and in today's video I've decided to take a look at every current Premier League team's badge and giving it a grading between A to E. And I've set myself a rule, I've set myself a parameter. I've decided to make it so that I cannot put any less or any more than 4 teams in each grading. So although I don't particularly dislike any of these badges, a few of them are going to find their way at the bottom, so make sure to stick around to find out where your team ends up. 20th, E, Fulham. I must start this list by saying that I don't particularly dislike any of these badges, but someone has to come bottom. And first up, with apologies to Fulham fans, but it is your club crest that is at the bottom of this list. It is just so incredibly basic, which I think is the issue with a lot of the modern day badges, as they have all tried to go for a more simplistic approach. The shield-shaped badge base colours are simply black and white, which could have been done on Microsoft Paint. And what is that interesting logo in the middle of the badge? Oh, it is just FFC turned diagonal. At least it is red to give the crest some colour, I suppose. Again, I don't particularly dislike this, but it's just so incredibly simple and dull. It has to go on the bottom. 19th, E, Nottingham Forest. In 19th spot, and it is Nottingham Forest. This is completely different to the Fulham badge, not conforming to a certain badge shape and being its own unique design, but yet again, such an incredibly basic one. The whole thing is made out of just one colour in red, and all the badge is a Sherwood tree and some wavy lines. The wavy lines, by the way, representing the River Trent. When was the last time you saw a Sherwood tree growing out of a river? At least there is more thought in this badge, with 2 Nottingham related things being incorporated into it, but yeah, isn't very flashy, is it? 18th, E, Wolves. You can tell I'm not a fan of the basic designs here, can't you? Yet another one comes up in 18th spot here. Wolves get props for the badge being a unique hexagonal shape, which none of the other teams have, and as with their kit, the rare goldish yellow is a pleasing difference to the common reds, blues and clarets. My main issue, it's just the simplicity for me. That sort of geometrically shaped wolf head silhouette doesn't exactly stand out from the crowd and doesn't make me think, wow, when I look at it. Although, if you want to say wow at a Wolves badge, look at the one from 1986 to 2002. That badge is a madness. 17th, E, West Ham United. The last of the badges in category E now, and just missing out is West Ham. The issue with this one, the last badge was better, man. Why do teams do this? They update their badges to these new, modern, simple designs, and 9 times out of 10, they look worse. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They got rid of the banner from their design and removed Bowling Castle. They had a frigging castle in their badge and think, you know what would be good? If we got rid of this totally epic castle and just kept a couple of cross hammers on a plain background. Absolutely shocking decision for me, that one. The inclusion of London at the bottom of the badge is also a very in-your-face attempt at widening their global recognition and to brag about their playing in the Olympic London Stadium, a move which West Ham fans famously weren't happy about and are reminded about every time they look at this new badge. 16th, D, Spurs. Into the D category now, and we have another uniquely shaped design like Forest, but another very basic one. Yet again, this crest is comprised of just one colour. And what is the design? A bird on a ball. I'm not giving it the respect it deserves as a traditional design for the club, but essentially that is what it is. The bird in question is a cockerel and is supposed to represent the team's fighting spirit, whilst the ball is, well, it's a football. The design is traditional and quite sleek, which gives it props, and it is one of the few modern, simple designs which does actually improve on the previous iteration, but there are just better ones in the Premier League than this. 15th, D, Brighton. We have the first of the circular badges now with Brighton and Hove Albion's badge. The shade of blue is quite pleasing, and the addition of a seagull to represent a bird synonymous with the area is a plus for this particular animal lover. But the issue here, and say it with me kids, it's too basic. It is so incredibly simple, and the design of the seagull isn't far from how a kid would draw a bird if you asked them to. Almost like a stick bird with a face. I think the overpowering amount of white doesn't help, as it is just doesn't make it pop like a football badge should. 14th, D, Burnley. Next up, and we have the relatively new Burnley badge, which is the exact same as the last one, but all of the different colours and detail has been taken out for just a claret and white silhouette. I have mixed feelings on this one. It has made the badge look sleeker and a bit less busy, but it is a shame to take out all of the character that the previous one had. I've never been a fan of the strange 64-bit like chevron, which is supposed to represent the River Brune. Between this and the forest one, it sounds like I have an issue with basic river illustrations. The stork at the top of the emblem is prominent and tops it all off well, but even with a loss of colour and detail, it is still a bit too busy, and being a shield within a shield is a bit of overkill. 13th D, Bournemouth. In an unlucky 13 with Bournemouth now, and similarly to the Fulham one, it almost looks like a Microsoft Paint effort, but this one is done to a better standard, that's for sure. The bold red within the black outlining is much more prominent, and I do really like the couple of black stripes to harken to the team's home kit. But I think the main issue is the person heading the football. It isn't the worst design for it, but it is just a bit too much like a child came up with it. The football is literally in the design that we all grew up drawing footballs in. It is unique, and I do like the colours, but I can't be putting a Microsoft Paint job any higher than this. 12C, Aston Villa. Creeping into a C grading, the new Aston Villa badge occupies this spot. The colour scheme matches the club's home kit, which is a plus because Aston Villa's colours are always nice to see, and they work well here. The rampant lion, as it is known, comes from the Royal Standard of Scotland, which is a nice callback to the team's origins that made up many of the team's first ever players and administrators, and the star for their European Cup is still proudly in there. It is all very nice and pleasing, but it doesn't stand out, and it is very much in the middle of the pack. 11C, Luton Town. First time in the Premier League, and their badge, in a weird way, illustrates that really quite well. Most teams who have been in and around the Premier League for a long time feel the need to change their badge into a minimalist design to easily identify with more of a global audience, whereas Luton's club crest has a very traditional design to it, having stayed almost identical for nearly 40 years. The only real change has been the delicate colour swap into more of a pastel wheelhouse, which is a very clean effort and causes very little offence. Unlike the Burnley badge, they have managed to get a lot of different elements in to represent Luton, such as the heart, the bee imagery and the different flowers, without making it look too busy like Burnley's. The more I look at this badge, I realise that I actually really like this design, to be honest. 10C, Arsenal. Top 10 now, and we have Arsenal here. Although the badge has changed over the years, it has stayed mostly the same, which gives it a real iconic look. There is a lot of history in this emblem, and just looking at it elicits nostalgia, whether you are an Arsenal fan or not, which meant that I had to put this badge this high. But why isn't it higher? Well, if we are being honest, there isn't much going on, is there? The cannon is epic, and the classically proud Arsenal sprawled above it is smart, but other than that, there isn't much detail in it. 9th C, Crystal Palace. The last of the teams to be given a C grading now. I like Palace's badge. The eagle's so big and so bold. It has quite an aggressive look to it, whilst looking very noble at the same time, which is a hard pairing to get right. With it perched on top of the Palace and a striking red football is a classic design. And although Palace aren't one of the oldest teams in the league, it just screams English football royalty. You can't hate this one. 8B, Sheffield United, into the penultimate category with the last of the promoted teams. There's no two ways about it. Sheffield United's badge is just cool. It is a circular badge, so it isn't exactly unique in that sense, and the colours of red, black and white aren't unique either. So what makes this stand out and earn it a spot in the Bs? Well, it's the friggin' swords, of course. There aren't many teams brandishing a pair of crossed cutlasses on their flags like some sort of South Yorkshire pirates. And you know what? The coolness doesn't stop there. Whacking in the white rose above it to represent Yorkshire is simply bad ass. Doesn't get any cooler than this. 7th B, Brentford. B is for Brentford here, and this badge is nice. A nice traditional colour pairing of red and white with a large B in the middle of it. It's a humble badge if ever you've seen one. You might be saying, but Bolts, this is exactly like Brighton's. A circle with an animal in the middle. Why are you grading these ones as a B if they were a D? Well, I'll tell you, you inquisitive little viewer you. The detail in this badge is the defining factor here. It isn't just the contrasting colour tone of a B in yellow and black which makes this pop, but the design with the subtle lighting on the black stripes and the detail in the wings of the B. The detail gives it more of a traditional look, despite it only being 6 years old, whilst keeping enough of a modern feel to keep it from looking old. 6th B, Manchester City. I remember when they changed this badge back in 2016, and at the time, I didn't like this change. The previous badge was really striking with the 3 stars, the golden eagle, and the club crest acting as the body of that eagle. It had a real coat of arms feel to it, but you know what? The new crest has grown on me. The colour scheme is pleasing to the eye, and keeping the ship within the inner shield was vital to keep the feel of Manchester City as a football club. It's a nice callback to some of their older crests from history, and the gold accents is rather symbolic of their modern success. The blue stripes are a simple touch to give it some more detail, and the Lancashire Red Rose is very striking, which historically, as a county, Manchester was a part of. There's your history lessons for you kids. 5th B, Chelsea. Only just missing out on a top 4 spot, I've gone for Chelsea. This is the last of the more simple designs within the Premier League, and it won't be for the older generations, but for me personally, it is the most iconic. Chelsea adopted this badge the very year I became interested in football, 2005. And it was in that period from around 2005 to 2010 where they had their most iconic and successful team ever. The nostalgia vibes of seeing the likes of Drogba, Essien, Cech, Lampard, Terry and many more repping this shirt is a big part of my football loving childhood, even if I didn't like them as a Liverpool supporter. The deep blue contrasts with the white so classically, and that Chelsea lion is a synonymous image ingrained in all of our minds. It's an excellent badge and is definitely the best of the modern styles. 4th A, Newcastle United, the last of the uniquely shaped Premier League crests and the first in the A category, a category full of traditional designs. It is Newcastle United. Newcastle have had this exact design since 1988, and it shows, but not in a bad way. This badge is so classic and is a legendary crest during the Premier League era. The black and white stripes in the middle of the crest match the club's attire, and the difference in the blue banner at the bottom to the red flag at the top really top and tail this crest so nicely. But the most iconic and most unique part of this badge, the 2 seahorses bookending it. They are so friggin' dope and are a staple of the Northeast. An absolute winner of a shirt, this one. 3rd A, Everton. In a spot for a bronze medal, Everton find themselves in 3rd in my list. Everton, other than some minor changes along the way, have kept virtually the same badge design for around 90 years, which is something to be absolutely respected and praised. That blue shield with the Nil Satis Nisi Optimum banner is a renowned image across football globally. Never mind just the Premier League. The Everton Tower with adorning reefs is a humble image on the front of this historic club's badge. They may be my team's derby rivals, but you won't ever catch me knocking that badge. 2nd A, Manchester United, into 2nd spot now, and it is the other famous rival of my football team, Manchester United. I might dislike the team, but this is a fantastic football crest. Similarly to Everton, this emblem has been around for the large majority of the lifespan of Manchester United Football Club. The red and yellow crest is absolutely world famous, with the pairing footballs and the ship in between to signify Manchester roots is in shipping. But all of this is not to mention the best part of it. That red devil is a symbol of this massive club, a symbol steeped in history, as it, along with the nickname of the Red Devils, was apparently adopted by Busby himself from the Salford Rugby Club. And I tell you what, it hasn't half done them well, has it? A fantastic badge which would in any right top almost every list. But not this one. 1st A, Liverpool. Before you say that I am biased, I have put Liverpool's main rivals in the top 2 and 2 of their modern day rivals in the top 6. So don't come here claiming that nonsense. You just have to be real here. This badge is legendary. As with the other 2, Liverpool's badge has kept similar themes and been largely the same for the entire lifespan, and there is just so much to like about this emblem. The gradient shades on the deep red and royal green give it an almost shiny effect, which is such a subtle detail to illustrate the club's rich and successful history. The banner with the established date is clean, the eternal flames at the sides in memory of the 97, the Shankly Gate sat on top with the illustrious You'll Never Walk Alone, which has such a lasting fabled connection to the club depicted within it. And then to top it all off, the ever-present Liverbird, strikingly magnificent within the centre of the shield, which has been a part of the badge since day one, 131 years ago. Yes, I'm a Liverpool fan, but you cannot argue that this badge belongs at the top. That's it, guys. That is the list. Please let me know down in the comments below what you thought of my gradings and if you are happy with what your team got. And please do check me out across all my other socials. I am on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube where you're watching this video, and Twitch, which is where I do all of my streaming, all under the same handle, Bolts96 with the O is 0. Thank you very much, as always, for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.